Good afternoon, and very good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Videography. This video is all about the 85mm f1.2 lens. I already shared my my overall review about that lens in another video, but in this video, I'm not only going to share that same review, but in addition, I'm also going to add the video performance, how it performs the autofocus in video, and most importantly, its comparison with its sibling 85mm f 1.8 S lens. So not only the overall review, the video performance, but also the 85mm f1.2 and 85mm f1.8 lens images side by side comparison. These two, all these, there are multiple things I'm going to show you in this video. So that's it. So let's get back to the overall review, followed by the video performance, followed by the its comparison of 1.2 with 1.8 S lens, and then we'll get back. Good morning, and very good morning. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Viewgraphy. How are you guys? I hope you guys doing great. Well, today's video is one shot, like just one go video about my overview and my overview and review about this lens. Yes, I have this 85mm f 1.2. Yep, thanks to Nikon Middle East, who basically gave me this lens for review and to test it. And I use this lens. I compared this lens. There, by the way, I compared this lens with 85 1.8, which is right over here. Just a second. Okay. So this is 85 1.2. This is 85 1.8. Okay. But before I go deep down, and you definitely wants to know how these two gonna compete with each other, a 1.8 versus 1.2, there will be a dedicated separate video just about having the comparison of these two lenses. All right. Right now, I'm just wants to show you the size difference, weight, and all that specs. Wait, I will write down over here about these two lenses, but look at the size. So this is 1.2 and this is 1.8. So look at the size difference. It's massive. Of course, this is a heavy lens. You're talking about one full stop of light more than this. This is 1.8, 1.2, one stop of light difference. So you get one stop more light in this, so more bokeh and all that. But this, I just have this 85 1.8 in hand just to show you the dimension, the size. And if I want to show you, just a second, if we look at the front element, you see the front element? It's massive, it's big, so it's a huge difference. Okay, so what about this 85 1.2? It has the same, the build quality is robust, like all plastic metal. The rear mount is all metal. This is all metal. The mid is hard plastic. The front is 82mm filter thread, and this is the normal. This is the grip. This is the focus ring. This is the control ring, and this is only one switch, autofocus and manual. That's it. The rear element is uh, big big enough to capture the full frame. The lens is heavy. It's just like the 50mm 1.2, if you remember. the one I had a review on, just like 50mm 1.2. This lens is also rendered in 3 dimension because of this heavy big glass element. Now, if you look at the counterpart from other competitors, this maybe this looks comparatively big, but if you watch my 50mm 1.2 video, in that video I explain why the image quality coming out from these lenses, especially the 51.2, is whatever I said about 51.2, exactly same. My thoughts, same review I'm going to say about this 85 1.2. The glass element that was used for this lens is purposely making the image in 3 dimension because the size of the glass elements. If you try to because lens design is all compromise. If you try to reduce the size, you will end up compromising the quality, the bokeh quality, and the sharpness or edge to edge sharpness, the vignetting, the chromatic aberration, or there's a whole lot of things, the parameters that you have to look upon when you design a lens. So when it comes to designing this 85 1.2, the Nikon basically has zero compromises on the image quality, and it's edge to edge sharp, alright, but they're more concerned about the fall off. The fall off you will see in the video. I will put a quick clip about a video how the fall off was from here to the background. You will see right now on the screen the short clip of the video. Good morning, and very good morning. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Videography. Yeah, this is a quick video test about autofocus system of Nikon 85mm f1.2 S-line lens, and I just want to show you the bokeh and the fall off that you can see by this lens, and also the quality, the sharpness, and how good the camera, the lens is in autofocus acquisition as I'm constantly moving back and forth across the frame. I'm shooting this clip with Nikon ZF, which comes with Expeed 7 processor with almost Z9 and Z8 autofocus capability. So this is kind of just more like a test sample about the video, how it is, and especially the fall-up and the sharpness at the same time. So this looks pretty damn good. Like, really, I really like this, the fall off, and I'm purposely shooting this thing in black and white because it's just give me that extra bit of artistic touch, and especially that fall off requires more kind of artistic touch. That's why I'm shooting this thing in black and white. I hope you like this quick video about this lens. I believe, by the way, I compared this lens with 85mm 1.8 S-line, which I'm going to make a dedicated separate video about it, which you will see on my channel very soon. That's it. But actually I'd like to talk more in this because I really like that aesthetic approach, black and white, that fall off. It gives me that artistic touch, and I really like this rendition so far. So that's it. That's a quick video demo for you guys to show you the 85mm f1.2 as video performance. Yep. Well, looks fine. Autofocus is really working great. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in future. Like, not future, I mean the video is still ongoing. So let's get to the main video. Okay, So now you saw that quick clip, how the fall off was from this lens. I purposely shot that closely so because that's the what lens is all about. I was shooting at f1.2 and the autofocus from this lens is so fast that it was constantly keeping up with my eye all the time. I was shooting with ZF, which was having XP7 processor, so the autofocus was just like Z8 and Z9. So I didn't feel any lagging or lack of autofocus in that video clip. So the autofocus of this lens is on par, the best. The size, the glass element that is used is big because of the quality that this lens is spit out. That this lens is rendering the image so damn good that it because of the glass element that was used, and the glass elements inside this lens is big because of 1.2, but not because of 1.2, is because the quality that is going to render. Another thing which I noticed in this lens, which is two things I noticed very immediately, is the lens coating inside the glass element. Once you shoot directly into the sun, no flare. I didn't see any flare at all. So the flare coating is very well controlled in that, very well controlled. Like if you're literally shooting directly into the sun, you won't squeeze your eyes like what's going on. Even directly shooting into the sun. It was really amazing experience for me. And I thought there is a cloud or anything, but I was shooting directly into the sun. So there was a big difference because of the coating that was used in that lens. Now, another thing which I noticed immediately is when I was shooting next to each other, this 1.8 lens and this 1.2. Now, this is 1.8 lens and this is 1.2. So, even if you stop down this lens to 1.8 and shooting these two lenses 85 millimeter at 1.8 on on any Z camera, and I mean any Z camera, the background got more blur from this lens even at the same aperture of 1.8. I noticed the same thing when I was shooting at 400mm f2.8 and I was shooting 400 2.8 TC versus 400 4.5, and I stopped down that 400 2.8 at 4.5, shot next to 400 4.5, but that 400 2.8 was blurring more the background even at 4.5. Same story with this. Even with this lens at 1.8 renders the background more blur than this tiny 1.8. So even if you shoot both, this got more blur. So that's it. I'm gonna put some sample shots on the way, and you will be seeing the image quality from this lens. But there is one kind of a different when it comes to handling. If you put this lens on any C camera and try to mount on tripod, so if this is the camera and this is the lens and the camera is mounted on a tripod, it falls to the front because of the weight. So you have to consider the handling and the weight a lot, because this is not a lightweight lens, this is a heavy lens. But the image quality is sublime, it's sharp. It's sharp. And by the way, I don't know, for some reason, this lens was rendered more beautifully on ZF. I was shooting ZF and Z5 next to each other. Like this was mounted on ZF, and this 85 1.8 was mounted on Z5. So I was shooting Z5 with this lens and ZF with this lens. Somehow the ZF was rendering image better. The colors were really damn good right from the camera, even at the same setting. Nothing was changed. I was shooting at aperture priority, auto white balance. This lens, the colors coming out from this lens is surprisingly rich and contrasty and sharp and got more bokeh, of course, even at the same aperture of 1.8 with its 1.8 lens. So I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with this lens. I wasn't expecting the output, the quality of the output. I was expecting the 3D, that rendering, because I knew that 51.2 renders 3D. So I was expecting that the same formula is going to be applied on this 1.2, and this is exactly what happened. The 3D rendition was there, just like that. But the colors was better in this in compared to 51.2. I don't know how, but this image renders color so damn good. I was really impressed. What about there is, by the way, there is one function button over here at the side. You can configure to anything. What there was something I did with this function button. Can't remember. About the focus point. Yeah. By the way, there is another clip you will see on the screen right now. The focus. This lens has almost zero focus breathing, so it was very snappy between focusing from front to far. Very snappy and very quick in autofocus. Very quick. They got some linear, quad linear motors, so the focus was very smooth, very quiet. Actually, you can't hear anything at all. And you saw that black and white video already, so that's it. So that's it. I mean, I'm going to wrap up this video now. That's a quick and short video about my review for this lens 85 1.2. I wish I could have this lens, but I have to return this lens to Nikon Middle East, and hopefully soon I'll have one in my bag for myself. All right, guys. Good evening, and very good evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Videography. This is a quick comparison of two lenses, which is Nikon 85mm f 1.2 versus 85mm f 1.8. So what I did, I used the 85 1.8 over Z5, as you can see over here, and I used the 85mm f1.2s on ZF. So both were 24 megapixels, so the resolution is the same and focal length the same, and the aperture, of course, it was different. What I did was I took two sample shots from the f1.2. So this one is at 1.2, other is at 1.8, and then from ZF, Z5, which is having 85 1.8. So I took one shot from 1.8. So from 85 1.8, I took one shot at 1.8, but from 85 1.2, I took two shots, which is one at 1.2, another at 1.8. So in this way, so 1.8 can be compared with 1.8, and 1.2 can be compared with 1.2. So let's get started. So first off, this is 85 1.2 at 1.2 versus 85 1.8 at 1.8, and I'm going to compare it. So on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8, on my left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, and when you zoom 100%, as you can see, the bokeh. Obviously, the bokeh you can first notice at 1.8, it's small. On 1.2, it's big and it's more blurry. The sharpness is over the edges is very fine. Over here on the ground, it's very sharp. Like both are, and this looks very sharp, except the bokeh, which you can see over here, which is very obvious that 1.2 is having more bokeh. But if I take the sample shot of like this now, 85 or 1.2 on the left hand side at 1.8, so both lenses are at 1.8. So let's see. Now the bokeh is almost the same, but still I can see the 1.2 on the left hand side is having more bokeh even at 1.8. The colors, I'm not concerned much about the color because both cameras are having different picture profile at that time, I believe, and even though I used the same settings on both, but still there are lots of other issues which may differ the colors, rendition, white balance and stuff. But the whole idea is to check of this video right now is to check the sharpness and the bokeh and the quality of the image. Okay, so now let's move to the next. This is 85 1.2 at 1.2, and this is 85 1.8 at 1.8. So this versus, let's compare. So on my left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, on my right hand side 85 1.8 at 1.8. And if I compare, both look sharp, really sharp. Actually, for some reason, yep. Of course, the 85 1.2 on the left hand side is creating more separation, as you can clearly see. And if I am switching, now on the left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.8, and 85 on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. So both lenses stop down to 1.8, and both lenses are equally sharp. The white balances may differ, but it's the camera. Alright, so this is another sample, 85 1.2. Right. Alright, here we go. So on my left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.2, on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And you can see the sharpness, because the depth of field on the 1.2 is so less that most of the area are out of focus. That's why you are seeing much sharp. Look at this area, sharp edges. Depth of field is so narrow on this, but the out of focus area on the 85 1.2 is very blurred. And if I switch this with 85 1.2 at 1.8, so now both lenses are at 1.8, and now you can see the depth of field. Now they are equal. The fall off is equal. But still 1.2 is creating more blur even at 1.8. Both lenses are at 1.8, but still 1.2 is creating more shallow depth of field. As you can see, you see this branch over here, that's is basically both are 1.8 still at, and the lens is damn sharp. Actually 1.2 is very sharp, very sharp. Next, let's move to the next. Okay, here we go. Okay, now I have to switch back. This is okay. All right. Now it's right. Okay, on my left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2. On my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And as you can see over here, the focus was somewhere over there, and due to the depth of field, 85 1.8 is creating more area and focus in compared to 1.2. Due to the hyperfocal distance, the 85 1.2 is very shallow depth of field. The bokeh you can see over here is different. So if I switch to okay, so now both lenses are at 1.8, and the moment I switch to the 1.2 to 1.8, the whole area is in focus due to the hyperfocal distance. See, that's the magic of hyperfocal distance. Because if I was shooting at 1.2, very less area was in focus. And 1.2 is very sharp, more sharper than 1.8. You can see the text. The text over here is much more finer on 1.2, over here much more finer than 1.8. That's why it's very sharp. Let's move to the next. Okay, 1.8, 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. Okay, let's go. So on my left hand side again, 85 1.2 at 1.2. On my right hand side, 85 1.8 at 1.8. And as you can clearly see, the sharpness. By the way, check the ISO. The shutter speed is the same. Of course, the ISO is less on the 85 1.2 due to the aperture of 1.2. Over here is 1100 ISO, over there is 320 ISO. But sharpness, check the sharpness. You see the micro contrast over here, and it's very sharp. 1.2. Actually 85 is really keeping up at 1.8. 85 1.8 is really keeping up at at 1.8. And if I switch to this, right now I have to go back there, not this. Now compare. Okay, on my left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.8. On my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. Alright, so you can see the sharpness. Look at this. Both are having really great sharp images. Both are equally sharp at 1.8. Move next. So on my left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.8. My right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And let's go and zoom in. I can't see much of a difference. Actually, if you look at the micro contrast, the stairs over here, it's much more clear than 85 1.2 rather than at 1.8. Even though 1.8 is really sharp at 1.8, but 85 1.2 at 1.8 is more sharper, is creating more micro contrast. More. Look at these stairs. Look at these stairs. These are not visible much over here, but it's very fine details you can see over there on the stairs. Even this grill over there, this grill is much more finer than over here. I am seeing the major difference on these stairs. These stairs are not visible on 1.8. lens, but on 85 1.2 is very much visible, and both are equal over here. Yep, they are equal but in some part of the images, by the way, that's moon. As you saw, the moment I took this shot first, 1.2, and then I switched to 1.8. So by the time I took the shot of from the 1.8, the moon set. That's why you see there's gap, not here. So that's another thing. That's the astro thing, actually. All right. Okay. So let's compare. Left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.2, on right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And of the first thing, the depth of field, you can clearly see the 3D effect over here, because this area is out of focus. Over here it's not much, but this area is also out of focus, which is, this one is in focus. So it's very, see over here, shallow depth of field, but the micro contrast on 1.8 is killing. So this area was in focus on 85 1.8, which is over here. Let's shift a little bit back. Of course the rest is the autofocus on this, but if I switch, now both lenses are at 1.8. Both lenses are at 1.8. Okay, both lenses are equally sharp. It's just that 85 1.2 was focusing over here, and 85 1.8 was focusing over there. So that's the only difference that I can see right now. Okay, that's 1.2. Okay, compare. Okay, so left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.2, right hand side 85 1.8 at 1.8, and the sharpness, as you can see, look, I was focusing on this rock, which is very fine. You can see how sharp the 85 1.2 at 1.2, because this whole plane is very sharp. Is very sharp. And if I come over here, of course, due to the f1.2 aperture, this area on the 1.2 is out of focus, which is not in the case of 1.8. Exactly in focus. Okay. Both are equally sharp in many cases. And if I want to switch to this, now both lenses are sharp at 1.8, but this time it's focus over here. This one is focusing over here. That's my fault, I guess. Yep, that's my fault. But here we go. All right. No. Let's compare it again. Okay. Now here we go. On the left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.2. On the right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And it's really hard. 85 1.8 is really sharp over here, much more sharper than 85 1.2. But when it comes to bokeh, it's obvious. The bokeh of 1.2 is very sharp. I mean, more rounded, more out of focus area, as you can see. cat's eye bokeh now. And if I'm switching now, 85 on left hand side, 85 1.2 add 1.8, and right hand side 85 1.8 add 1.8. And if I'm comparing them side by side, now they are equally sharp. They are equally sharp. They have identical ISO on this, both ZF and Z5, because I used 85 1.2 and ZF, as you can see over here. On the 85 1.8 I was using Z5. And when it comes to bokeh is still even at 1.8. The 85 1.2 is clearing more bokeh even at 1.8. So that is really strange for me. Both lenses are 1.8, but 85 1.2 is creating more blur. So this is a quick comparison of both 85 1.2 and 85 1.8 lens side by side. I will share with you another portrait session, because this is just journal shots. I did some mistakes, as you saw. My focus points was shifted, so especially in these images, my focus point was shifted, so I wasn't able to compare this properly. But over here, this was very much fine, equally side by side. Now I will share with you the portrait session of the same. I used two lenses, these two lenses, 85 1.8 at 1.8 and 85 1.2 at 1.2 and also at 1.8. So I'm going to show you next the same test which I showed you, but over the portrait, and then you can easily justify which lens you have to go with. Alright guys, so this is the portrait comparison of 85 1.2 S lens versus 85 1.8 S lens, and I did the same thing. I took two shots from 85 1.2 S lens at 1.2 and another at 1.8, and then I took one shot from 85 1.8 at 1.8. So you will see the three shots and of the same model in the different scenarios, lights and shadows, and we are going to compare them side by side, all of them. So okay, so let's start from the beginning. This is the first shot taken from 85 1.2 at 1.2 versus 85 1.8 at 1.8, and let's compare them. So on the left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, on the right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And right from the bat you can see the sharpness. The camera took the autofocus over here on the eye, but over here it's on the nose and skin, but the depth of field is very shallow. And if I'm switching to this, now you will see 85 on the left hand side, 85 1.2 at 1.8, and on the right hand side 85 1.8 at 1.8. Both lenses are equally sharp, identically sharp, literally identically sharp. But the bokeh on the 1.2 at 1.8 is more, as you saw earlier in the sample shots that I took of the various roads and mosque. So that's what it is. So another sample shot. So this is the same on the left hand side, 85 1.2 at 1.2, and on the right hand side 85 1.8 at 1.8. And let's go 100%. Alright, as you can see, the 85 1.2 is razor sharp, literally, at 1.2. In the backlit situation, look at this. Of course 85 1.8, it's also razor sharp, but it's a 1.8, so you have more area in focus in compared to 1.2. And as you can see, the bokeh over here, which is far more than in compared to 1.8. So the fall off over here at 1.2 is much more than 1.8, obviously at 1.2, but the sharpness and the micro contrast on both lens are exceptional. So if I switch this with this, now both lenses are at 1.8, 85 1.2 at 1.8, and 85 1.8 was already 1.8. Even at 1.8, you see the bokeh over here, the earrings of the model. Even 85 1.2 at 1.8 have is blurring more than 85 1.8 at 1.8. All right, next is this. Left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, and right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And if I compare due to more area in focus, you will see this very sharp across the frame, but the micro contrast on both lenses is exceptional. This looks way softer, a little soft over here. Okay, if I'm comparing this, now both lenses are at 1.8. Now 85 1.2 over here at 1.8. This is 85 1.8 at 1.8. They look equal now. And as far as blur concerned, 85 1.2 is blurring more actually. Look over here. Both are at 1.8, but on the left hand side is more blur than right hand side, even at 1.8. So that's an advantage actually if you go for this 85 1.2 lens. Alright, so another shot on the left hand side, 85 1.2 at 1.2. Over here the focus was on the shoulder, so not a good example to go with. Yep. Next, I missed that one. Alright, so on left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.2, on right hand side 85 1.8 at 1.8. And of course, due to the f1.2, there is less area in focus in compared to 85 1.8. But the micro contrast on 85 1.8, it's more contrasty than 85 1.2 in my opinion. 85 1.2 is more warmer, 85 1.8 is more cooler. Okay. And if I go with this lens here, so now both lenses are at 1.8, and if you look, the fall off from eye to the ear, from eyelashes to the ear, is more on 1.2. Next, on left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, on right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And I mean, I can't see of a difference other than the bokeh, because sharpness is there in both lenses are equally sharp. there is not much fringing at all actually on both lenses. There is no fringing or chromatic aberration, as you can see. Okay, sounds good. And now both lenses are at 1.8. There is not much of a difference actually, except that 85 1.8 is more punchy and more contrasting and more cooler than 85 1.2. Let's jump on this example. As you can, the purge. So 85 1.2 at 1.2 on my left hand side, on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. It's more 3D effect creating. And of course the blur is there. Now both lenses are at 1.8 and they are equally sharp. I can't see much of a difference. Both lenses are equally sharp at 1.8. Let's jump on this example. So 85 1.2 at 1.2, and on the right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. I mean, I can't see a difference much other than depth of field area. I mean, there is, because see over here it's in focus is out of focus because of depth of field. That's all. Now if I switch this with this, now both lenses are at 1.8. So if I come over here, okay, nope, nope. Both lenses are equally sharp. Both lenses are carrying different character, to be very honest. That's really, really good and strange at the same time. On my left hand side 85 1.2 at 1.2, on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8, and high autofocus was tracking and stuff. And alright, so let's resume. There was a technical difficulty I faced, so let's resume now. So this is 85 1.2 at 1.2, and this is 85 1.8 at 1.8. Let's compare. As you can see, on my left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8, and it's very hard to tell. Of course the 85 1.8 is more punchier due to the output, but 85 1.2 is creating more blur. So if I switch with this, now both lenses are at 1.8, and as you can see they are nearly equal, like literally they are equal at 1.8, but the blur which create by 1.2 is more on 1.2 than 1.8, and you can see from here. So 1.2 is creating more blur on even at 1.8, despite the aperture is 1.8. So that's it. A few more shots and then we're going to wrap up. So let's go with this one. Compare. On my left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2. My right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. And right now they look nearly identical, except the depth of field. Look, they are model is moving within the depth of field back and forth, so some part are in focus, some part are not in focus. And if I'm switching this with this, now both lenses are at 1.8. Both lenses are at 1.8, as you can see. Other than one temperature, one lens is cooler, one lens is warmer. Besides, there's not much of a difference. Now this is last. All right. Compare. On my left hand side is 85 1.2 at 1.2, and on my right hand side is 85 1.8 at 1.8. By the way, I just noticed a little bit of chromatic aberration, but I believe it's very well controlled. And now both lenses are 1.8. Now both lenses are at 1.8, and that's it, guys. I mean, it's very difficult to tell which lens is better, to be very honest. Both lenses are equally good. Both lenses. Of course, 1.8 is having more power in hand when it comes to autofocus area, where even if you stop down from 1.2 to 1.8, still that lens able to blur more in compared to 85 1.8s. So that's the big advantage goes to 85 1.2 lens. So that's a side by side comparison, and let's go to the final conclusion. Thank you. Welcome back. So I hope you like the 85mm f1.2 comparison, especially with 1.8 lens and its overall review. By the way, I love that black and white part. It was really amazing. Especially the autofocus performance of a 1.2 lens. That rendition that it creates, especially in black and white, that's totally artistic. So that's it. I'm going to conclude my overall review. Now, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you guys in the future with some new content. Till then, take care.